Hey, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel. So today we have a fun looking puzzle here. It's got a couple of interesting rule sets that we've used before, but they're kind of the mixture of them together. Looks like it's going to be quite interesting. Also, it's called The Council by a Parliament of Owls. I love that name. And I guess, I don't know this offhand, but I guess a parliament is a name of a group of owls, which is really weird. It's kind of like a murder of crows or something like that. If that is correct, let me know in the comments below. But I think it is, because I couldn't possibly figure out how anybody could ever make up a name like that unless a Parliament of Owls is actually the name of a group of owls. So anyway, props to you if you did. Anyway, that said, let's take a look at this thing, see what's going on, and let's jump into it. So we've got normal Sudoku rules apply. Every row, every comment, every column, and every region contains digits 1 through 9 once each. Then we've got the additional rules. So we have global entropy. I think this one might have been one of those other puzzles that was set because of the request from some setters to create global type rule sets. I may be wrong on that one, but I've seen a few of them in a certain time frame together, and that seemed to have been the case. But anywho, global entropy. Divide the digits 1 to 9 into low, middle, and high digits. So low is 1, 2, 3, middle is 4, 5, 6, and high is 7, 8, 9. Every 2x2 cell group in the puzzle must contain at least one digit of each group. So pick any random 2x2 group of cells, and you must have one high, one middle, and one low on all of, and not all of them, but 3 of those 4. The other one can be whatever it needs to be. Then we've got X sums. So digits on the outside of a row or column indicate the sum of the first n digits, n being the first digit in that row or column. So look at this 12 clue. Whatever this digit happens to be, let's say it's a 3, it would mean that the first 3 cells from this side must add up to 12. This was a 2, I mean the first 2 cells would have to update, etc., with all of these other options here. And that's it. So it's not a ton of rules, but they're interesting rules on how they may work together. That said, link is in the description below. As always, let's give this one a go. So where are we going to start? Well, the first thing is when we're talking about, oh, I actually just saw something I didn't even see when I was looking at this puzzle previously. We're talking about X sums. Really want to focus, if possible, on the very low value clues or the very high value clues. So like the 6 and the 8s would be nice to look at. The 38 and the 35 would be nice to look at. And this one down here is exceptional because there's only one way you can make this one clue work, and it has to just be a 1. So we have to have a certain number of digits add up to 1 by the clue. The first digit must tell you how many digits you're going to use to add up to that value, and therefore it's 1. Now, looking back at those other digits, I think I'm going to start with the low ones, then we'll go over to the high ones in a second. And we'll have to get into entropy at some point, but I think we're going to have to get at least some digits or some options of digits in some of these before we can really even go into that portion of the puzzle. So for a 6 clue, and we can actually use the 1 clue as an example. We can never put 1 next to an X sum clue as the first digit unless the clue itself is 1. So everything on any of these clues must at least start with 2. Excuse me. Now, in a 6 value, we can only have 2 or 3. For an 8 value, we can only have 2 or 3 because you can only have 2 or 3 digits adding up together to equal those values. Can't do 4 because you'd be at a minimum of 10. Now, again, we have a 10 here, so we can say this could be 2, 3, or 4. The 12 could be 2, 3, or 4. So we're probably going to get to a point where we're going to have some opposing possibilities of what could be what on these X sums. And before I get to the large digits here, in these lower digit ones, we're going to know that there's no overlap. So let's say this 10 ends up being 4 digits, and sometimes I'll use a coloring to differentiate or to say what the actual depth of it or possible depths of it could be, just for help with eyesight. But if we also say then that, well, there's a 3, well, obviously it couldn't be a 4, let's say 3 of them equal to 12 from this side. We know the 10 and the 12 equal to 22, so we'll have a value left over of 23 because we have to get to 45 in an entire row or column. Well, if we have to get 23 more, we can't do it in 2 digits. So there's no way this is a 3-4 combo, is essentially what we're trying to say. So we know that one of them has to be 2. And if we know that, we can say this one has to be 2, actually. I didn't actually think we were going to get anything out of what I was starting to say here. I thought we were just going to use it as an example, something to use in the rest of the puzzle here. But obviously we can't put a 2 here, because if this was a 2, we'd have a 2 and then we have to put a 10 next to it. And we just said one of these has to be a 2, because we can't have it be a 3-4 pair. So this is our 2, which means this is 8. Now, can we actually think about what the 4, if it could be a 4 now? Because how do you make 12 in 4 cells? It could be 1, 2, 4, and 5, or 1, 2. We're getting to the point here. 1, 2, 3, and then what we have left over of 6. If in each instance of where we're going to 4 we have to use a 2, and we can't use a 2. So this is a 3, this is a 2. That's a 2, this has to be a 6. And we're getting a lot more digits than I thought we would by starting to look at this. Now we know this is 3. So these 2 digits have to add up to 9, because that's what's left over from 12. We can't do 8, 1, or 7, 2, or 6, 3, because those digits are all already used. So this has to be a 5-4 pair. Okay. I was going to see if we could do anything with this 6, but I don't think we can. Because a 6 could, if this is a 2, this is a 4. If this is a 3, this is a 1-2 pair. And well, actually, this one would be the 1. This would be the 2. But there are options here. So in the same vein as what we're talking about here, we now know that actually there's 4 digits here that add up to that 22 that's left over. But we can think about the other ones as well. And I keep saying we can get to these high digits, because I will in a second, but we've gotten someplace that I didn't think we were going to get to quite off the bat. So let's look at these situations that we have currently. We've got a 16 and an 8. So we're already up to 24. Or so we're only up to 24 is a bit more sense. So we have to at least leave enough so we can get up to a 21, which at a bare minimum is 3 digits. What can this 16 be? Because it can't be 1 and it can't be 2. So it's 3, 4, and 5. You could never do 6, because 6 digits at a bare minimum is 21. So we said we have to have at least 3 digits left over. And this is where it actually might help to put your coloring in, because we know these are the givens right now. And technically we could do that too, but if we were to think about this being a 5, that gets us all the way out here. We just said we can't do that because we need to be able to have or at least 3 digits, because we have to at least get up to 21. So it's not 5. So this is either 3 or 4. Now, I don't necessarily know if we can say anything about this one at the moment, because with a 4, we have plenty of leftover, because we can do 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, you can't do it with the 2, but at a bare minimum from 4, you can get up to 10, which is 1, 2, 3, 4. That leaves us 6 digits of room to work with, which, considering the little bit of information we have, I don't think that's going to end up working. Now, if we were to have 3, does that do anything? Or do we need to finally now start looking elsewhere? The other thing would be, look at this 24 and the one we're at 25, need 19 left over. So there has to be some combination. Well, to get to 20, I can do math. We're at 25, we need to 45, we need to get to 20. So we have to at least have 3 digits open. So this only leaves us to go up to here, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is either 3, 4, or 5. 3 doesn't work though, because we can't get to 24 in 3 cells unless we use 987. But if we put a 3 in here, we can't do that. So this is not 3. So we end up with a 4 or 5 pair actually. Can we take that any further? If it's 4 cells, we have 4 digits that add up to 24, and the remaining 5 digits would add up to 20. There's most certainly ways that could work. If this is a 5, it includes all of these. And then we have 3 digits that have to add up to 20. And we can't, well, the 1 doesn't really matter, but. I'm wondering if we'll probably get further on this one if we start looking elsewhere. I think, again, this is a 26. This has to at least be a full, well, no, we can get to a 3, couldn't we? Because if we did a 3 in this instance, excuse me, we'd have 2 more digits that have to add up to 17, which we could do 9 and 8. So this could be 3, 4, 5, or 6. 6 would be the highest we could possibly go. Now, does that leave enough left over if we do 6? Absolutely not. So this can't be 6. Because again, we're going to be at 26 total. We're going to need 19 left over. We need at least 3 digits to do that. So this can't be 5 either. It ends up just being a 3 or a 4. And I think once we get to these guys, we might be going a little bit too high on the board there. But this could be 2, 3, or 4. The 11. Actually, it can't be 4, can it? Because we put a 4 on here. We have to have 4 digits to add up to 11. Well, 4 digits that add up to 11 are 1, 2, 3, and 5, which leaves out that given 4. And that's the only way you can make 11 in 4 digits. This is not 4. So it's either a 2 or a 3. Now, obviously, if it's 2, this has to be a 9. If this is 3, these have to add up to 8. Let's look for the other side again, because we might have something else where we can start to reduce some of this stuff. Again, we can't have 1, we can't have 2. We could have a 3, because we can easily have the 3 plus 2 just add up to 14. 4 and 5 would be the maximum. Now, can we do the 5? I think we can do a 5 in this instance. Because you would be looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is the bare minimum, but you don't have to use the 5. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 equals 15, so you have 2 more digits you can work with. Okay, now let's finally get to our 38, 35. Now, we know there's going to be a crossover between these two, unlike all of these other ones where there had to be 2 sets of digits coming in this way and there's a gap in between them. Here, that is not the case because we obviously can't have 38, 35, and then something in between. We can't even have 38 and 35 butt up against each other because those obviously go way higher than 45. So let's look at our options. Apologies, I've got dog hair all over me, so I'm kind of sniffling. Took our dog for her annual today, and she hates it and sheds like crazy. Anywho, Well, let's start from the top on this one, because obviously we're not going to have any low digits. 876, is there any way to get lower than 6 to get up to a 38? Because 98765, which is 5 digits, is only 35, so no, the answer is no. This has to be from 6, 7, or 8. The 35, again, we have to at least have 5 digits, because 98765 equals 35. So we're looking at 5, 6, 7. It can't go up to 8, because if we had 8 digits, we'd have 1 digit left over that would have to add up to 10. We can't do that. Okay. Now, can we think about this one in terms of 8? See, that'll actually work. We could have an 8 here. It takes up all of this, and then we need 7 left over to get to 45. Well, this could just be a 7. And then we come back with 7 to add up to our 35, and they can mix up in some way to make that work. Alrighty. So, with all that said, can we now, because I don't know that we can take this any further just yet, can we now look at entropy? Because we have not at the moment, but we actually do have some digits that are given, plus we have some possible or reduced options of possibilities. So if we were to take this guy right here, we know we've got a low and a mid, so there has to be a high in one of these two. The same is true if you look at it from this direction. One of these has to be high. The 4, 5. Those are both mids. What does that tell us? Because if we look at it from either direction, one side has to have a low and a high. The other side has to have a low and a high. So all of the lows are being taken up in these cells, which means one of these has to be a 1. Because this one sees those. We've already used the 3, so that's out of the equation for these guys. So the 2 has to be in one of these as well. Now we know we cannot put another mid in any of these because we already have 2 middles. We have to have a low and a high. So the remaining mid, which is a 6, has to be in one of these 2, which does remove this as a 6. That could get useful here for a second. Now, we know this 6 has to go with a high. So these are from 6, 7, 8, 9. Not quite a quad yet. Okay. That almost got us somewhere. Now up here, again, we need a high digit in one of these 2, but I don't think we have enough really to take that any further. This, if we were to kind of think along a slightly projected timeline here, I guess, we either have 2 highs or a mid and a high. So there's always going to be a low in one of these 2. The only thing there, it would be much better if we knew this wasn't a 6, first off, because that would mean these would be a high and a mid. Or a low and a mid, sorry, I just misspoke. Now, I don't see much more here, but I could be missing something. What can we think about in these groupings? Trying not to sneeze here. because we know we have a low and a high. So we're going to have a middle and a middle. But they really could be just about anything. I don't know that we have enough here to do this, to do the entropy any further than right now. So maybe we need to go back and look at this again. If this is 7, we have to have 2 more digits that are left over that add up to 7. So it would either be a 6-1 or a 5-2. And again, we said if we had an 8 here, this would just have to be 7. What about looking up the other way? If this is 5, well, that doesn't work. Sorry. If this was a 5, it would break the puzzle because you'd be forced to put 9, 8, 7, 6, and 5. And then what the heck do you put here? So that's not 5. I should have signed that earlier. What about if it was a 6? There would be enough room, I think, to break that up. But no, there wouldn't be, actually. Let's think about what's left over if it's a 6. If this is a 6, these all add up to 35. These have to add up to 10. We've already got a 7 or an 8. There's no way. If there was a 7 and this one didn't exist, we could do a 1-2 pair. But because this one is here, and that's obviously for a reason, this can't ever work if this is a 6. This has to be 7, which means this has to be 8. Now, if this, yeah, we thought about it a different way, but it turned out this one being 7, this one ended up being 8 anyway, because it turned out that way. But that was what we thought was going to happen, or could have happened. Now, if we know this is 7, we'd have to have 2 digits left over that add up to 10. One of those is 8, the other one has to be 2. So these are not 2s. These are also not 8s, so let's put that in. Now, I think we've, sorry, there's a little mic issue there. I think we've finished this 3538 in terms of what we can do with it at the moment. Because everything mathematically has been worked out there. Whatever is filled in here works for everything either way. So there's no way to decipher those. All right, now that we have this further figured out, what can we do? Let's put a 1 up here to start with. Put a 6 down here to start with, because we have the 6s and the 1s, of course. Now let's start looking again at the entropies. We have a high and a low. We have to have a mid in here somewhere. Yeah, so that just gives it away. We can't put a mid here because 4, 5, and 6 are on all of these, but we have to have a mid in one of these. So this one has to be that mid, which means this isn't. This one can be anything because we already have a low, mid, and high. Here we now have a low, mid, and high. Here we have low, mid, high. Okay. Just seeing if there's anything else that's obvious here. Don't think so at the moment. What else do we have now? Now that 4-5 pair that we said, which had to pair with 1 high and 1 low. Or sorry, 1 high and 1 low. I said that correctly. I just thought it the opposite way. Now, if we know the lows are offset like this, I think it tells us that the lows have to do this. If this is the 1, this is the 2. If this is the 2, this is the 1 kind of thing. Because we can't put 2 lows on one side because we'll have 2 lows and 2 mediums. Does that do a whole lot for us? Is the first question. Because we don't have any highs given in this puzzle, in this region yet. I don't know that it does. What about this 24 clue now? Do we have enough information in here to say anything? If this is a 4 clue, what does that tell us? It tells us these equal 24. So these equal 20. 3 cells that equal 20. I think there's multiple ways that works. If it's a 5, it encapsulates all of this. And these 3 cells have to equal 20. What's the max we can put in here? Well, it couldn't be 966, obviously. It's like a 975 would work. Or if we went down to an 8. No, wait, sorry, I did math wrong again. Jeez. 965 would work, but we can't, that doesn't work because that would break the 4 or 5 pair we have. Is there any other way to make it 8? Would not be able to work with the 6, because in that case it would be the 866. What if it has 7 on it? 7, 6, 7 doesn't work. So there's no way to make it work if this is a 5, because these guys can't ever come to an agreement on how to make a 20 without using double digits. Let me think on that for just a second before I use that. These are 5. These have to equal 20. Can't do 965. Can't do 866. We can't do, yeah, 965 doesn't work because of the 4 5. 866 doesn't work, obviously. And 767 doesn't work. And we're down to our 6. So no, that we'd have to have 14 in some way. None of those versions of 14 works. This is a 4, which means this is 5 and 4. Which means these digits have to add up to 24. I don't think this 2 is possible, is it? Because we're at 6. We'd have to get up to 18 in 2 digits. We can't do this. This is not a 2. This is 2. Let's get rid of those. Now we know we have a 6 here, and we know these have to add up to 20. So we've got 7 already given, plus the 6 is 13. The other one has to be a 7. 9, 14, 20. Yeah, that works. So this is 6, this is 7. Therefore, these are given as 3, 8, and 9. And this can't be 3. So one of these is. Okay. That 4 removes that from the equation. And what do we have left over on this guy? 1, 7, 8, and 9. Okay. All right. Well, that worked. That's nice. What do we have now? Let's look at these. Or do we want to see if there's anything talking with Sudoku here? One of these has to be a 4. one of these has to be a 7. No, it doesn't look like it. Okay. So let's start looking at some of those options again. If this was a 3, that would force this to be a 4. We would need 19. That doesn't ever work because these two would have to equal 19. You can't make 19 in 2 cells. So this can't be 3 because of what it does here. So this is 2, which means this is 4, which means this is 3, which means this is a 9-8 pair. And this has, that has to be the 8. That has to be the 9. That 3 forces this to be a 2, which means this has to be a 9. And now we've got some movement here. What's next in line? Because we've got a couple 9s now, so these have to have 9s in them. One of these has to be an 8, so it has to be this one because of that. One of these two has to be an 8. Can we go any further with these guys? Doesn't quite look like it. What about the 3 looking in here? So this is a 3. These have to be from 4, 5, and 9. This one's not the 9. This one's not the 4. Okay. What else we got? Any of these rows or columns now, they're really starting to look at something. There has to be a 3 in this row. It can't be in one of these two, so it's one of these two. The 1 can be anywhere, really. So with the 4 and the 5. Okay, so that didn't go too far. The 2 in this one has to be one of these two. That's about as far as that'll take us. This one we've got... Just trying to see if there's anything obvious given here before we move on to some of these other ones, see if the options, how they work. It doesn't look like it, other than one of these two has to be a 9. Okay, so the only two we have left over are the 16 and the 17. Can we... Okay, let's look at this, because we know one of these is an 8. If this is a 3, it's going to be a 3 plus and 8, which gets us up to 11. It would force a 6 to finish, and that would absolutely work. If this is a 5 with an 8, I think we're going to break it, right? Because we have to have all of these digits. In the first 2 digits alone, we're looking at 13. So yeah, that will never work. So this is 3, which means this is a 6-8 pair. So this is 8 and this is 6. This isn't 8. That 3 forces this to be a 4. We already have 12. So these 2 digits now have to equal 4. So they have to be a 1-3 pair, which means this is 1, this is 3. This is 3, this is 9, this is 8. There we go. What are these 2 guys left over? 5s and 7s, it looks like. Okay. And it looks like we've got most of these X sums done. So let's switch tracks again back to entropy, because we've got a lot more information now than we did before. So we should be able to make something happen here. Here, well, this had to be a mid. It already is. This has to be a mid, so it cannot be that 9. This is 5, which means this is 4 and 9. That 4 works with the mid there. We've got a low, mid, highs, all that works. Good. That 9 gives us this 7. These guys are down to 1s and 9s, which forces these guys to be 7s and 8s, I believe. And this has to be 1 and 5. Now let's look through our options on entropy. We've got 2 mids and a low here. This has to be high, so that separates those. These are, we've got low, mid, and high here. We've got a low and a mid. So I don't think those are doing much, because we just need a high in one of these two. We can easily get it here. No matter what, this is a high. So yeah, we can't really go anywhere with that. Okay, let's look elsewhere. 3 and 4 here are interesting, I guess, because we get the low and the mid. Now, if this was another mid, it would force a high up here. Yeah. Oh wait, actually, let's look at it this way. This 5, 7, and 4 combo are 2 mids and a high. This has to be low, so it has to be a 1, which means this is the 5 and the 1. What else we got? We've got 2 lows and a mid. This has to be high, so it's either 8 or 9. What else? What else? It may be useful just to kind of fill in some of these options and then look at what can and can't go in terms of entropy as well. What about here? We've got 2 lows and a high. There we go. This one has to be a mid, so therefore that's that. What are these guys left over? We need 6, 8, and 9. So this is 6. This is 8 or 9. That seems like it's all working out the way it needs to be there. So let's see what we've got left over in this corner for the moment, and then we'll move around to somewhere else. Actually, let's just do Sudoku. We've got a 2 here. What else do we have? One of these is 2s. Okay. Because we may very well pick up something. Yes, the 3. Just see that now. That has to be 3. This can't be. We can probably pick up some easy digits here. That's why I'm going to take a look at them. And then when we have to move on to something else, we can. One of these is a 5. I'll try to keep an eye on entropy as we're doing this as well, but one of these is a 6. Oh, this is 7. There we go. This is 5. That's going to break some stuff up. 8 and 7 and 9 and 8. And that 9 is going to give us a 9 here. There we go. See? Finding the easy stuff. I learned sometimes. This has to be 9. Can we get anything out of these 3? We're looking at 1, 3, and 6, it appears. This one, well, this one clearly can't be 3. This one can't be 1. This can't be 6. We've got 2 lows and a high. This has to be a mid. 4 or 5 cannot be 6. Anything else there? Not quite, but I'm sure we can find something else. We've got a, this is a low, high, possible mid already. So that's not great. Let's look here because we have 3 digits left. Again, we got 1, 4, 5. This is not 1 or 5, so this is 4. And we've got 2 highs and a mid. This has to be low. What are the options? Can't be 1 or 3, so it does have to be that 2. Good. This is 2 lows and a high. This has to be a mid. Can't be 4 or 5. It is the 6. Therefore, this is the 7. This is a 1, 5 pair left over. If that's a 1, well, just use the 2. This is 2. This is a given of what? 4, I think? Does appear so, which means this is 5. Let's just put in our options here, and we'll go from there. We've got 1, 5, and 6. This can't be, oh, well, this one can't be 5 or 6. This is 1, and this can't be 5, so that's 6. This is 5. That 1 gave us our 3. That 3 gives us 6. That gives us 1. That gives us 5. 1, 5. These 3 digits. Well, let's look at these 2. There's less here to work with. We know what they are. This has to be 6, and this has to be 4. Gives us this digit, which has to be a 9. Now we can switch over. We got to be able to put 3, 7, and 8. This is 3. This is 7. This is 8. And then we can just finalize all this. This is 4. This is 1. And this is 7. Hey, there we go. You saw the puzzle is correct. Oh, wow. I didn't even think that was 40 minutes worth of work, but there we go. Seemed like I was working on that for about 20. Anywho, excellent puzzle. Really enjoyed that one. There was quite a bit of back and forth in trying to figure out what certain things could be and couldn't be. And I think that's probably what took up a little bit of time there. But anywho, excellent puzzle. Hope you all enjoyed this one. I don't have anything more to say about it, so see you in the next one. Thanks a lot.